This video is brought to you by Brilliant. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has not exactly been having the best time lately. After inheriting a pretty undesirable political landscape from Liz Truss, he's been on a mission to turn the economy around, unite his party, and improve the Tory standing in the polls. Unfortunately for him, these tasks have not been easy, and he's not exactly been successful on any of them. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the politics of the situation, specifically current polling, and how things seem to be getting even worse for Sunak. We're going to split this video into two parts. In the first, we're going to have a look at the elements of Sunak's leadership in the last few weeks that may have had an impact on polling. In the second, we're going to have a look at the polling itself. The main thing bringing down Sunak at the moment is the economy, and more specifically, inflation and the accompanying mortgage crisis. The economy still isn't in a good place right now. The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, measures inflation at just under 8%, despite interest rates being raised yet again by the Bank of England. While it's true that other countries in the EU, and indeed around the world, are still struggling with inflation and the cost of living crisis, what makes the situation worse for Sunak is the fact that he made reducing inflation the first of his 5 pledges for his government at the beginning of the year. He even went as far as saying that he wants the public to judge him on his record, and not only is it looking right now as though he could struggle to meet his target of halving inflation, Bloomberg seems to think that he's actually going to struggle to hit all 5. As Sunak himself said when he announced his 5 pledges, these were designed to reflect the priorities of the British people. It's fair to say that in the middle of a cost of living crisis, while families are still struggling to buy food and pay rent, inflation is still one of the public's main concerns. This is backed up by YouGov polling from the 26th of June, which shows that 66% of people have said that the economy is one of the 3 most important issues facing the country. Additionally, despite the Tories traditionally being perceived as the most competent on the economy, a huge 81% of respondents think that the government is handling the issue of inflation badly, with only 11% thinking that the government is handling it well. Again, what confounds this is the fact that Sunak had made a big thing about how he would be the one to bring inflation down, which he was actually mocked for at the time as it seemed so easy. The Labour Party actually tried to attack him for this by saying that achieving his 5 pledges, the first of which was to halve inflation, would be mostly so easy it would be difficult not to achieve them. So you get the idea. The public don't think that Sunak is doing a good job on the most important issue facing the country, inflation, and he's invited this pressure by making it one of his 5 pledges. But Sunak is also coming under more pressure with the UK's mortgage crisis. Essentially, with inflation persisting, the Bank of England has been forced to raise interest rates. This has made servicing mortgages more expensive, and anyone renegotiating their mortgages or moving on to a variable rate mortgage has been hit with an enormous bill. Sunak has refused to provide any sort of financial help for affected mortgage holders, which has made him unsurprisingly unpopular with the homeowners that make up the Tory base. To Sunak's credit here, this is probably the right thing to do. Supporting mortgage holders would just exacerbate inflation, and it's hard to argue that the UK has enough money to bail out over-leveraged but relatively wealthy homeowners, but not, say, junior doctors. Unfortunately for Sunak, even if it's the right thing to do, it's not popular, and it adds to this general sense that the Conservatives, not just Sunak but previous administrations too, have mismanaged the UK economy. In a sense, this is all a symptom of 2 unfortunate facts for Sunak. First, even if he does the right thing, there's this sense that he's only fixing what the Conservatives broke in the first place, which means he doesn't get any political credit for it. Second, there just isn't much political support for Sunak's managerial, fiscally conservative brand of politics. Even if his caution is understandable, given the various crises afflicting the UK and apparent strains on the UK finances, most people feel that the UK needs more radical solutions, and Sunak's managerialism doesn't cut it. So let's move on to the second part of this video, and have a look at the polling itself. At the time of writing, the most recent polling released comes from Redfield Wilton on the 3rd of July, which has reported a whopping 18-point lead for Labour, with Labour on 46% and the Conservatives on 28%. This is broadly in line with polling aggregators, which give Labour a roughly 20-point lead at the moment. In the Redfield Wilton polling, Sunak's personal approval rating has fallen 5 points from last time, reaching minus 16%. Starmer also saw his approval rating drop by 2 points, but he maintains a positive approval rating of 7%. The electorate also seems to expect the next election to produce a Labour government, with 35% of respondents saying that a Labour majority is the most likely outcome if a general election were to take place in the next 6 months. Only 14% believe that the next election will produce a Tory majority. To make matters worse for Sunak, in the latest Conservative home poll of Tory members, Sunak's approval rating, along with that of 8 other government ministers, has gone negative. This is particularly bad news for Sunak because of how it interacts with party unity. One of Sunak's main missions since succeeding Liz Truss has been to unify the party, and to his credit, he's been relatively successful in this respect. However, pressure from the Conservative base and membership could undo this, and encourage especially the right wing of the Conservative Parliamentary Party to more vocally oppose Sunak's centrist policies. So, all in all, things just aren't looking good for Sunak and the Tories. Sunak entered office promising to reunite a divided party and fix the economy. His relative inability to do either has been noticed by the electorate, and right now it seems like they're really punishing him for it. If things stay as they are, it looks likely that Starmer will be the next resident of number 10. Videos like this are a great example of how the TLDR team spends more and more time analysing data and economic information as it becomes more and more critical. As a bunch of people who are ordinarily more focused on words than numbers, we've really benefited from courses on brilliant.org in order to keep ourselves sharp. That's because Brilliant is the best way to learn maths and computer science in a fun and interactive way. From foundational and advanced maths to AI, data science, neural networks, decision making, and more, with new lessons added monthly. Even if you, like us, don't necessarily think of yourself as a traditional STEM kind of person, these courses could prove incredibly useful for your life and career. Courses like data analysis and the fundamentals of statistics can help anyone ensure that they're properly understanding our increasingly data-driven world, which is good news if your boss suddenly asks you to analyse a trade war, an economy, or the collapse of a currency. Just hypothetically. Anyway, you can try everything Brilliant has to offer free for a full 30 days by clicking on the link in the description. Plus, the first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Thanks for your support and for watching TLDR.